Welcome back to Garden Talk, brought to you by the Penn State Erie County Extension Master Gardeners. I'm your host for today, Mike Bailey. And again, Ellen is not with me because of the restraints, brought about by the coronavirus pandemic. Ellen is very healthy, but she just cannot join me, at the same location. So, in the interim, we will deal without her. She misses us very much, but we'll see her hopefully shortly. And last week we talked about starting plants indoors, and which I kind of like to do. In fact, I told you that right in back of me, I got 6 trays of heirloom peppers, that I've just got through, taking care of. And they seem to be doing fine. I started them several weeks ago, and I'm starting to see some second leaves now. So that's wonderful. I'm pleased. Didn't have complete germination, and I might have to start a few, the varieties over again. But that's just the way it always is. That's even the way it is in commercial greenhouses. You always don't get 100% germination, so please don't expect that. Now, we left some loose ends from last week, and one of those loose ends that I wanted to spend some time on was the temperature that you might use for starting seeds. Most seeds do very well with starting temperatures between 68 and 78, 80 degrees. Okay? And trouble is, most of us don't keep our homes, that warm 24/7, certainly not this time of year. But there are some options for you to do. I mean, there are some wonderful commercial mats out there that can be used for starting seeds. I have a couple of those here, which I really like, and they're very durable, and they've used them year after year after year. But don't use any kind of a commercial, heating pad that you would use for, keeping yourself warm. Please don't do that, Remember, you got to be careful. Safety first, please. And what you could do is you could take a lamp with an incandescent bulb, and if you have your trays up on a table, you might want to put that bulb, that lamp underneath that table, and that heat will radiate up and warm that table, and in turn warm those trays. But please, safety first. Be careful what you're doing. And what you don't want to do is start a fire. But if you don't have the right temperatures, probably the worst thing the best thing, I guess, that could happen if you don't have good temperatures is that your germination of your seeds is probably going to be delayed. But at very worst, those seeds are probably going to mold in the soil and not germinate for you at all. So you do have to take this into consideration. I also want to tell you about an approach that I use for starting tomato seeds in particular. And this allowed me to germinate those seeds probably in 4 days, or maybe even a little bit less. And you might laugh at this, but what I did, I actually put the seeds in a cooler along with some containers that contained hot water. And what I did, is I took some paper towels, I cut them in about 3/4 inch squares, and I put them on a plate, and I moistened those paper towel squares, and then I put 1 or 2 seeds on each and every one of those squares. And I covered them up with some plastic wrap, and I put them in that cooler with those containers of warm water, and I shut the cooler. Now I checked on them a couple times a day to make sure that the water didn't need to be rewarmed, and I also wanted to make sure that there was enough moisture, on those paper towel squares, if you will. And believe it or not, within 3 to 4 days, those things germinated. And you have to be ready if you're going to do something like this to plant those seeds pretty soon after they germinate. And what I did is I had my planting trays ready, and I pulled each and every one of those squares up, and I put the seedlings along with that square of paper towel right into the soil. And pretty much covered them. As sometimes if you can't leave the head of the germinated seed out, you'll be okay. They'll pop through. But what I don't want you to do is I don't want you to try to peel that paper towel segment off. See, because that's why you cut it in those small pieces, because you didn't want the roots to intertwine on a large paper towel. So take the time to do that. When you put those squares on the plate, separate them a little bit so the roots of those germinating plants don't intertwine. and you can take them in the paper towel will disintegrate real quickly on you. So it's worked very well for me, and I suppose you could do that with other things also. I don't know why you couldn't, but I typically use that with tomatoes, and so that has worked very well. So, and again, a kind of summary of this particular section, as far as starting seeds inside, some of the important things, 5 important things. Pick the right plants. Don't pick beans and peas and corn and sunflowers to start inside. You'll have a problem. And also, number 2, you need good lighting. If you see that your plants are starting to lean or stretch out, you don't have the lighting, good enough lighting. You need to have those plants really kind of touch the light. People laugh at me when I tell them that my plants actually grow into the lighting fixture. They do. Okay. A reasonable growth medium. Okay, don't try to do things with garden soil unless you amend it, to a great degree, and that you're very experienced with this. Reasonable temperature, like we just got through talking about, in moist soil. Don't flood it, and don't let it dry out, because those seedlings need to have that moisture. Okay. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that be careful. Don't start things too early. Otherwise, you'll be babysitting forever. And the other thing is that it's important when you're starting seeds inside. You have to harden them off before you put them out in the garden. And we're going to talk about hardening off in our next session. So I think we've run out of time for today. So thank you for listening. Bye-bye.